Welcome in. It's the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It's a Chiefs victory party. Patrick Allen, Sterling Holmes, Matt Verderame, and Matt Conner. The whole gang is here. We're here to troll the Raiders. We're here to laugh and have fun because it was a great Chiefs victory. But before we get into all that, we appreciate your patience waiting for the afternoon games to end. All four of us and everybody on the Arrowhead Addict crew and FanSided just wanted to give our condolences to L'Jarius Sneed and his family. If you hadn't seen the reports yesterday, Sneed didn't play today. He's down in his hometown with his family. His brother was horrifically murdered. We don't know all the details of that, but he passed away, I believe, on Friday night. Patrick Mahomes gave L'Jarius a plane, loaned him a jet to fly down to be with his family yesterday. So he was out for the game today. It's terrible. It's awful. We're here to talk about football and have a good time, but that's the real life stuff, and it impacts the team and the players. And I know all the fans love and care about L'Jarius and just wish him all the best in this really difficult time. All right. We're going to get into it now. So sorry to start off on a somber note, but this happened between shows. And so we just wanted to mention that to L'Jarius. Okay, so the Chiefs just absolutely curb stomped the Las Vegas Raiders. It was great. How's everybody doing, and what are you drinking? I'll start us off. I've got a Southern Tier 2 Xmas Spiced Double Ale. This is incredible. If you can find this, brewed with orange peels, ginger root, cardamom, cinnamon, fig paste, and cloves. It tastes like Christmas. It's absolutely amazing. And I'm raising a glass to the Raiders just completely falling apart today. It was awesome. Let's go. Let's start with you, Verderame. And I know you're going to be eating Count Chocula later. Initial reactions.
Once we get through the initial reaction, I'm gonna disappear for about a minute and then come back with the Count Chocula. That's going to be what I'm handling and taking care of. And I love that the fan page has turned into an I'm Count Chocula page. So this is taking on a life its own. And yes, Mike, listen, you're gonna get plenty of warning for the Count Chocula experience begins, which by the way is going to be an unmute experience. Otherwise, it'll be the absolute worst experience of all time.
Oh God, Count Chocula eat me in the chat.
Yeah, it's
sort of funny, but also kind of creepy.
I'm concerned, but either way, I'm having the damn bowl of cereal. It was a damn good day if you're a Chiefs fan. There really was. Normally, even if you win in the NFL, even if you win somewhat convincingly in the NFL, 10, 14 points, as a fan, you kind of sweat the game out because you usually don't get way up. And that game felt over midway through the fourth quarter. Hell, I could make an argument it felt over after the first play from scrimmage. I mean, really, you really almost looked at that game and just went, yeah, it's over. You're not going to win the game if you're the Raiders doing that. And of course, that portended what came. But 48-9, that'll play. That'll work.
Sterling, what are you drinking? Initial reaction.
Just like the Chiefs did to the Raiders, took them on a ride. This is a winter ride, double Bach. I got it at Trader Joe's. It is fantastic. First one of the night. I got something special coming up a little later on in the show. But initial reaction, this was the Raiders Super Bowl. They're their only team that gets to play in 2 Super Bowls every year. And since Andy Reid's here, they're 3-13? Not very good. The Raiders, when will they get it through their dome that trying to poke the bear is going to somehow work out in their favor? We all know about the victory lap, and then they get curb stomped next time. It's 89-23 this year in the 2 games played? That's absurd. Yeah. That's not even little brother. That's baby brother. That's unborn brother. It's just get it through your skulls. Yeah. Stop messing with it. I love it because they got Patrick riled up. You can see him on the sidelines just getting stoked. Andy Reid was out there saying, all right, even if we take the pedal off a little bit, we're still going to try and just bust you. I absolutely love that. Every single running back seemingly scored. If I would have gotten the game, I think I would probably have scored a touchdown as well. I mean, they were getting beat in all phases of the game. It was incredible to watch. This was the game that I think catapults this offense to go along with elite defense.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And we got to do a hat tip to Jaden Lawler, who just bought us a domestic beer. Appreciate you, Jaden. That's awesome. Much appreciated. Very, very kind. Yeah, I agree. I think this is a big catapult game for the Chiefs because of some of the things that they did on offense that we haven't seen them do very well in a while. And that's really exciting. But let's go to the editor of Arrowhead Addict, Matt Conner, who is in his closet. How are you feeling, man?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, man. I'm drinking root beer in honor of the Raiders, who need to stop drinking and appearing in the middle of the field or doing whatever it is that they think of doing. I don't know. I'm also just drinking root beer. Yours sounds like a root beer, Patrick. You just named like every spice I've ever heard of in some kind of like witch's brew. The only thing you didn't say was like Eye of Newt and Ward of Toad or something
Eye of Newt,
in your thing there. But
root beer's the best soda there is.
Dude, hell of a day. Like, I mean, after that first play of the game, I just thought we're done. I started writing the recap, talking about the Chiefs' dominant win after that play, because I was just so. Of course, now I say that, and I'm going to jinx them sometime. But yeah, man, we got a lot to talk about. But what a day! What a day!
All right. So Verderame's going to go get his Count Chocula, and while he does that, we'll get a little started talking about the Chiefs defense here. And if you don't know, Verderame, he's getting the Count Chocula. He made a bet on the show. I forget exactly what the terms were, but he said he would eat Count Chocula live on the air if the Chiefs did something, and so he's going to do it. By the way, you're listening to the Arrowhead Addict podcast. Couple things. If you're out there in YouTube land, hit that thumbs up button for us. Really appreciate it. It'll help get more people into the victory party. You can always subscribe to us. We're on all the places that you get audio content. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and we will read your review live on the air on one of our shows. And then lastly, this is really exciting. If you didn't know, we are giving away a signed Tyreek Hill jersey. So you need to go to my Twitter to find out how to enter. The first thing that you can do is subscribe to the Arrowhead Addict YouTube channel right now. If you're already subscribed, you're good there. That's one of the things that you have to do. Go to my Twitter at @RPatrickAllen. You need to follow our friends who are providing the jersey and retweet the tweet and be subscribed to this channel. And we're giving it away on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Arrowhead time. So make sure you do that. The host, we have put the my Twitter in the chat. So, okay, let's talk about here he is. He's back with the Count Chocula. All right. Verderame's going to eat Count Chocula live on the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It's come to this. Frankly, I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner, to be perfectly honest with you. But how is it?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Right?
Listen, I'm going to put it on mute because otherwise it's going to be a disaster.
Please.
But I enjoyed it thoroughly. The Count Chocula might put up more of a fight than the Raiders did today. But I'll listen to you guys. I'll be here in a few minutes. In the meantime, I'm enjoying my Count Chocula. I'm feeling a little awkward, but screw it. I'm gonna eat it.
We're gonna need to make another bet where, because I had to dump beer on my face. We're gonna have to make another bet where if Verderame loses, he has to dump Count Chocula, in his mouth live on the air, whole box. That'd be great. Okay, so let's talk about. I want to talk about the Chiefs' defense again and the offense played well today too. But just the Chiefs defense remains dominant. 9 points given up today. Now, look, they're at home. The Raiders are shorthanded, right? They don't have Darren Waller. When your number one receiver is Hunter Renfrow, very good receiver, not scaring anybody, right? They just let him catch a bunch of balls. Sterling, what are your thoughts on this defense? I've got a quick stat before you give your opinion on this. But we talked about this on the preview show on Thursday. That the Chiefs, they had allowed 17 points or fewer in 5 straight games, which was their longest streak since 2019 when they won the Super Bowl. Make that 6. Only 9 points today. Can this defense keep this pace up for the rest of the season and into the playoffs?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, this defense looks legit. 1-2 game sample size, you're like, all right, that's a small sample. 6 games against solid competition. The Raiders see Kansas City 2 times every single year. If there's any team that should have some sort of advantage of what they're going to do, it's this team. Wheels on the bus go round and round while the Chiefs beat the brakes off of the bus. I mean, is there a bigger midseason signing than Melvin Ingram? Trade or otherwise? It's incredible.
It's great signing.
I mean, bringing him in, moved Chris Jones inside. We say it every single week, but just look at what Chris Jones has done inside. Frank Clark looks like a new man, even though he had the one offsides. He was, if you watched him, just every single snap, he was getting the quickest jump. That line was getting after. Alex Okafor had a sack and a half. Are you kidding me? If he's going to start doing something, watch out. Secondary was incredible. The freaking Mike Hughes game, which who would have thought that
the
was
Mike
coming?
Hughes game. The Mike Hughes, Josh Gordon game. We're going to get to it all. Jaden, we have to hat tip Jaden again, boss, another Budweiser. Appreciate you, Jaden. He's got a question, so we got to answer it. And I'll give this one to you, Matt Conner. Are the Chiefs defense, are they a top 3 defense in the NFL right now?
You know, I'll say this. I think the potential is there to be a top 3 defense in the NFL. I mean, look, I'll say it this way. Right now, we should turn the sound on for Matt's cereal eating, by the way. I'm feeling a little aroused just watching it. I felt
it's so weird.
I felt the same way when I was watching the Chiefs today. I'm just feeling a little excited. My marriage has been a little slow lately anyway, so I appreciate days like this where I get to feel a little something. So, Matt, if you want to turn the sound up while you're slurping, that would help me. I love it. Hey, look.
It's gone. It's beautiful. I'm going to have a second bowl later.
I love it. Man, how do you not love this? I mean, like on paper, this is what we were talking about, right? Melvin Ingram, Jaron Reed, Chris Jones, Frank Clark. On paper, you're like, okay, are we playing some Madden or some sort of like crazy fantasy defensive league here? Because that sounds great. And they're actually playing like it. Last week, we saw Rashad Fenton out, who's a hell of a guy this year. And DeAndre Baker steps up, looks reliable. Mike Hughes steps in for L'Jarius Sneed this week. We're even going without some parts and still continuing this dominance. All 3 levels. Spags is putting together exemplary game plans. Execution is looking great. Honestly, even in this game, though, the Chiefs still made several mistakes, right? Like we saw Travis Kelce have a couple penalties. I mean, there were penalties here and there that like either kept drives going or, a defense or stalled them out on offense. So it's like the Chiefs can get better is what I'm saying. And they're already as dominant as they are. So I'm anxious to see how they do on a rebound, 3 days rest and then play the Chargers. It's going to be a hell of a game, man. But the fact that even some of those guys got rest today, like this was a storybook win.
Yeah, and it was exactly what they needed, right? Because they're playing the Chargers on Thursday. They're not getting banged up. And this is a defense that hit the field without L'Jarius Sneed. They lost a really physical player, a good blitzer, a good tackler, aside from being a great corner. Verderame, now that you're digesting that wonderful bowl, Count Chocula, your thoughts on the defense in their play today. And do you think they're a top 3 defense in the NFL right now?
They are right now. Like, what the hell's the argument that they're not? When is the last time the Chiefs give up a meaningful touchdown? I know. I mean, I thought about this, so I know the answer. It was against the Giants on November 1st. That's the last time. I could be wrong with this, although I'm almost 100% sure I'm not, and just doing this off the top of my head. I also think it's the last time that any team had the ball at any point in the second half and was within a score of the Chiefs. Nobody's close. Nobody's close. And I get it. Like early in the streak, you'd say, well, Daniel Jones, Jordan Love. All right, well, Derek Carr's leading the league in passing yards, and they have kicked the crap out of them twice. I mean, at what point does that matter? Dak Prescott, they CeeDee Lamb in the first half of that game. They couldn't score a point. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't move the ball. They couldn't pick up anything. The Broncos, I get it, not a great offense. No one would argue that. They scored 3 meaningful points. Like, I don't care who you're playing. If you're doing that, you're kicking ass. And today, like as great as that offense was, especially in the first half of the Chiefs, that lead doesn't happen if the defense isn't just getting off the field over and over and over and over and over. Like, are they a top 3 defense overall all year? No, because they were so bad early in the year. But have they been a top 3 overall defense the last month and a half, 2 months? Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know why you wouldn't expect it to continue. Now, look, they are going to have a very big test on Thursday. That team can score a lot of points. They've got weapons all over the place. Herbert is a great young quarterback. That game, and we'll get into it, I'm sure, that game's going to be won or lost by Kansas City's defensive line. If the Chiefs get home in that game, they're going to win. That honestly is how I feel. But for now, look, that Raiders game, this could have been a game where the Chiefs could have overlooked it a little bit, even though it's the Raiders. You got that Thursday night game coming up. We just killed this team. The Chiefs smoked the Raiders in every conceivable fashion, and the Raiders played the part of the stooge, right? I mean, 5 turnovers. It was ridiculous. But like usual, I was chatting with my dad throughout the game, and after about the second series, I said to him, like, this game's over. They can't block them. They just can't block the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs were in the backfield the entire game. I don't know what they end up with, 5 sacks in the game. Was that the official total?
4, I think.
I mean, they were all over them. And if the Chiefs can do that with the way that the back 7 can cover, it's over. You're not going to beat that very often. And I thought that's what we saw today. The Raiders just really had no answer for the 4-man pressure games. And it resulted in what was a pretty easy blowout win by about the middle of the second quarter.
It's really unbelievable the way that the Chiefs are playing so confidently on defense. I think that one of the things that's jumping out to me is that they're just a different team than they were earlier in the year. They're flying to the ball, they're flying downhill. Everyone's playing with confidence, and they're going in there and they're making things happen. They're punching, like they were punching the ball out on the Raiders tonight. Like they weren't just fortunate, right? Or Derek Carr's terrible. They were making these turnovers happen. And it's absolutely incredible. Jaden, again, another Budweiser. Shout out to Patrick Allen for getting my name right. Get yourself a beer. Yes, sir. Appreciate you. Just absolutely incredible by the Chiefs. And the pass rush. And I like this was, I tweeted this with Snead being out. It was like the pass rush is going to be the key to this game for the Chiefs because they've, if they can get pressure on Derek Carr, forget about it. There's not enough weapons out on the field. Yeah. And that's exactly what they did. And that's the biggest change for me. Matt Conner, what about you? I know you were so high on this defensive line coming into the season. You were really high on Turk Wharton. He shows up with a big play tonight. How do you evaluate the play of this defensive line for the last few weeks?
I mean, you just said it. I mean, they, from the word go, they were dominant. Jaron Reed punching that out from the first play. Mike Dana's making play. Mike Dana should be a starter, and there's not a place for him. But I mean, there will be going forward after this year. Right. I love the depth they have. I love the overall talent. It was everything we thought they may have coming out. They say the game is won or lost in the trenches. I would trust these trenches in a way that I would have never trusted them in years past, even in like Super Bowl years past. Both lines look so deep at this point, and exceptional. So, yeah, I think it's going to be I think this is these guys will get it done deep into the postseason, barring injury. That's the key from here on out.
Sterling Holmes. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Oh, no, Sterling, go for it.
Yeah. Sterling, I just wanted to ask you, we've talked about Melvin Ingram. How much do you like? Obviously, a lot of us has had to come together for this defense to start playing the way that it's been playing. But how much do you put on just the acquisition of Melvin Ingram alone, allowing the Chiefs to be a little bit more physical and intimidating up front?
That was the excuse move Chris Jones back inside. So for me, it's the biggest move that you can possibly make. Yeah, Spags has been incredible, but Chris Jones has been the difference maker. When you are the second best interior defensive lineman in the NFL, use him. When you're not an edge guy, it's not going to have success. The second he moved back inside was the second the defense turned around. Obviously plays a part in that, but the acquisition more sense than his actual performance on the field. Give Spags a lot of credit. Spags has changed, adjusted. Obviously, we thought that Thornhill should have been getting a lot more snaps than Dan Sorensen early on. he was, I don't want to say stubborn because they know more than we do. We're not in every single practice. We're not there behind closed doors, but give Spags credit. He adjusted, he changed. I would like to see more Nick Bolton, but obviously they're doing something right playing Ben Neiman. So give Spags a lot of credit. Who would have thought that a dude who's won Super Bowls knows more than us? But give that man a lot of credit.
Well, I think you look at the way that they're playing on defense in a game like this. You want to bring Bolton in, and he's your hammer. He's going to help you out in the run. The Raiders couldn't run the ball early on, and then they didn't have time to run the ball. So you don't see a lot of Nick Bolton in a game like this. Verderame, you had something to say. Take it away.
Well, first of all, I've seen some questions going down the side. I just wanted to say, look, I know my fan page asking, of course I'm going to answer. What did the Raiders do defensively? They play a lot of too high? No, they didn't. They played just like they played in the game a month ago and just continued to get torched. It's quite a bold strategy to give up 41 points a month ago and then come back and go, you know what? Fuck it. Same thing. Let's see how things play out, boys. And then just give up 48. Really well done by Gus Bradley and friends. No, they did nothing differently. And I said before the year started, I really thought this was the best team that the Chiefs had assembled with Mahomes. Because of the defense, because of all the moves they had made to shore up the offensive line. And early in the year, of course, it was a really uneven performance. In fact, by their standards, it was dreadful. But 3-4 overall is uneven. Now I think you're starting to see why, at least in my eyes, why I felt that way. This team defensively, if they play like this defensively, and they even get this offense to 80% of what it was to start the year, it's a wrap. They don't lose another game. There's nobody beating this team when they play defense like this. And that's where, look, I'm more confident about them right now at 9-4 than I was last year going to the playoffs at 14-2. Because even though they were really a great team, to go 14-2, and the one loss was a backups-laden loss, I worried about them defensively at times last year. I worried about their offensive line. I don't worry about any of that right now. They can maul anybody they face. They're as good defensively as anybody in football. And you know what the great thing about them is defensively? They can play you any way you want to play. You want to line up and try to run power? Fine. You want to try to spread them out and throw against the corners? Fine. You want to throw short and try to beat the Chiefs and make them tackle in space? Fine. You want to throw deep and you got to block them for 4 seconds? Fine. Any way you want to play, they can play you. There's not any part of that defense that I look at and go, I don't know. Even the other one in the Super Bowl, I always worried about them getting exposed by backs and tight ends in coverage. I remember going to the Super Bowl, I was so worried about Kittle because it was you worry about, could they handle him? Could they handle the backs out of the back? I don't worry about that at all with this team, at all. Yeah. I saw somebody ask earlier, I'm sorry, I couldn't get who it was, but somebody asked, what would the difference have been if Waller had played today? 48-10. I don't know, nothing. And that's why with them, they're just so complete defensively. Everything's rolling. They have 4 guys who can get to the passer at all times. And I just think everybody's focused nationally anyway. I think on the wrong thing. What's going on with the Chiefs offense? Today, obviously, I think everybody would be satisfied. But what's going on with the offense? The offense doesn't have to score 35 points with this team. If the offense scores 24 points, they're probably winning every game. And that's, to me, that's the bigger story. And that's going to be the story Thursday night. But give them full marks. They come out of the bye 3 games in a row against the division in 12 days. Well, they're through 2 of them. And they've rolled. These games have not been contests, especially obviously today. So now they go into the game that I think is going to determine whether they're a 5 seed or they have home field throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, and we got to give a hat tip to Rasta Kaufman. Appreciate you. He says, dance on the Arrowhead. You lose. Glad we stomped them. And let's talk about that, right? I wanted to get to that. It's the big storyline of this game. Before the game starts, the Raiders go up. They're down there in the end zone warming up. They run all the way across the middle of the field. The Chiefs are in the locker room, stomp on the logo, fire themselves up. You can imagine what they were saying. Hey, we own this stadium. We came in here last year and we beat these guys. They embarrassed us last time. Blah, blah, blah. Talk. First play of the game, they fumble for a touchdown. And from there, the route was on. I maintained that they angered the football gods. A lot of people really believe in the football gods and that you shouldn't anger the football gods. And for me, what illustrated the anger of the football gods, and when I knew that they were really like making the Raiders feel their wrath, was towards the end of the game when Carr just got absolutely annihilated by Okafor. His soul left his body and the ball left his arms, and it would have been a scoop and score, but the rest blew the whistle. And then on the very next play, it was almost as if like you could cut it together to where like the ball comes out and then you just cut it together and it's Gore running from the same spot essentially and into the end zone. Hat tip to Jaden again. And we'll get to your question just a second about Josh Gordon, but I want to on the logo thing. Matt Conner, you saw everybody you did a whole post on this on Arrowhead Addict. They were getting roasted on Twitter from former Chiefs players. Give us a little bit of a taste of that.
Yeah, it was it was hilarious. It was hilarious to see the Schwartz brothers, Colin Saunders, some others who were like sitting this game out with injury, commenting on it. Here's what I think, though. I think it was a good move for the Raiders long term because they laid such an egg. They laid such an egg today. Like of all the games where they had to show up, right? For the Chiefs, this was a chance to put a stake in the heart of a rival, and they took that opportunity. And for the Raiders, it was back against the wall. If we have anything left in us, today's the day to show it at Arrowhead. They didn't go out competitively. They laid an egg from the very beginning. They pulled some dumbass stunt at midfield that Derek Carr, after the game, Derek Carr just says, hey, I backed my guys, and so we went through with it, and that's all I'm going to say about it, right? So he wouldn't, throw his guys under the bus, but he essentially said, I wouldn't have led that whole endeavor, right? So at this point, if you're part of the decision-making brass of the Raiders, if there was anything that you were if there was any chance that the Raiders were going to
looks like we got to freeze up. We got to freeze up.
It's a hilarious freeze.
It is a great freeze.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll get back to Matt Conner when he comes back.
I'll say one thing. Vegas flew 1,500 miles to basically film a TikTok, and that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised. They're going to go after Chase Claypool and Juju Smith-Schuster because that's all they care about right now, apparently, is looking good for Twitter because that was just a abysmal performance. You can't do that. Sherman holds her soft.
This is why you don't do this kind of shit, right? This is why you don't talk trash, before a game or just don't do that crap. It's not really because, you don't want to give your opponent any extra motivation. And I always talk about the bulletin board material. Look, these guys are professional football players. They don't need any extra motivation, right? They might say that they take X and Y and Z and use it, but the fact of the matter is, it probably doesn't change the outcome of many games. They're all super ultra competitive and they want to win. But what does happen when you do this kind of crap is you get roasted over. If they were already going to get made fun of for getting their asses kicked, but now they're getting made fun of with so much glee by everybody because they were so dumb before the game. Matt Verderame, your thoughts on the logo dance?
First of all, Jaden again. Jaden at this point is putting my kids through college. My man. Appreciate it. But listen, I think that this is summed up easily. When you do something like that, the actual act of it, when you think about it, all right, who cares, right? They ran at the 50-yard line and tried to pump themselves up. But it's disrespectful as hell. And if there's one thing that pro athletes will use to get themselves fired up, it's that. It's disrespectful. It is a shot at who you are. It is a shot at your pride. As Chiefs fans, we all see the logo and it's it's this thing we love. As a player, that's at you. That is a direct shot at you. It is, we don't respect you. We have no worry about you. And I got to tell you, that's a hell of a shot to take when you just finished getting your doors beat off 41-14 a month ago on national television at home, right? I wonder, and I thought about this in real time, after that scoop and score in the first play from scrimmage, the Raiders who led that thing, were they like, oh God, that might not have been the best decision in the world? Like, it's just, I don't mind. I really like, look, if the Chiefs did that to the Raiders, I would feel like, all right, you probably don't have to do that, but like they probably can back it up. The Raiders doing that is just such a ridiculous thing. And then I loved at the end of the game when the Chiefs played Wheels on the Bus as they walked off the field. That is so just in your face. Here it is. By the way, and this speaks to a bigger point. Did anyone, Harold Kuntz, who does a great job, I think he works at Fox in KC. I like Harold a lot. Talks to him a few times. He tweeted out a short video of Frank Clark during the game kicking into the field goal net as he was just warming up to kick just for fun, just entertaining the fans. Like, that's how much the Chiefs think of the Raiders. Frank Clark's not even not involved with the game plan, not involved with watching the game, was just kicking field goals into the net because it just doesn't matter. They're dancing on the sideline. There was one point in the game, it was in the second half, I think it was third quarter. They were dancing on the field like they were just having a good time. Fans, I mean, that's when you dance. And
the Raiders were in the red zone. And the Chiefs were like, it's over, man. We don't give a shit.
Chiefs are like, yeah, screw you. It's 38-3.
Yeah,
right? Like, that, to me, A, it's funny because it throws it in the Raiders' face. But B, like, that speaks more indicatively to, like, where the Chiefs are mentally right now. They're fully back. They are just like, especially defensively, it's like, yeah, whatever. Here it is. Beat us. And, I guarantee you this. The Raiders, next time they play them next year, there won't be any of that. They won't be doing any of that crap. That to lose is embarrassing enough like that. To do that beforehand, yikes.
Yeah. All right, we got to get to some questions. Thank you, Wilder05. We got to go back to, so let's go back to Jaden's first question. And appreciate you as we transition to offensive talk. Do you think they'll use Josh Gordon more now? They were definitely trying to get him the football a little bit, got him a touchdown in this game. Let's go to you, Sterling. Do you think we're going to get more Josh Gordon?
Maybe a little bit, because no one else has stepped up. Byron Pringle, I feel like didn't see him hardly at all. I haven't seen the snap counts yet, but it seemed like it was drastically less. McCole Hardman obviously had that big catch, but they've obviously taken back his snap count share. This was a concerted effort on that specific play to give Josh Gordon the ball. That, to me, shows they want to try and get Josh Gordon the ball more often. We didn't see him much more after that as far as making plays, but just to me, that shows we want, and we have to get Josh Gordon the ball, get him more involved. So I do think we'll see more Josh Gordon. I don't think it's going to be like 75% of the snap share, but I think we'll see maybe 30, 40%.
I love it. Yeah, it's good. Look, everybody needs to contribute. Josh Gordon was never going to be like a Megatron out there or anything for the Chiefs. So as long as he can contribute, especially in the red zone, he's a big-bodied receiver. That's where you want to use him. That's great to see. Verderame, we're going to give you this one. It's Jaden's other question because you know everything. The Raiders have only beat the Chiefs 3 times since 2013. Can you name those games?
Well, last year, obviously, the home game, 40-32. I can think of one off the top of my head. It was 2017. It was that game on Thursday night in Oakland where I was physically sick as the Raiders took like 29 attempts to score on the last play of the game.
The refs blew it. I'm standing by it.
That was bonkers. And then, yes, the other one I can tell you, 2014, another Thursday night game in Oakland. The Raiders were winless, and they won the game late. And it would have been the Jamal Charles game otherwise. But I prefer to think of all the times the Chiefs have just beaten the absolute doors off the Raiders, which I think I've said that phrase like 2 or 3 times tonight. Listen, the Chiefs have owned the AFC West. Hell, if they win it this year, it's 6 in a row. But under Andy Reid, they just do not lose games in the AFC West. They don't. Yeah. So they are now, 3-1 this year with 2 games left. At the Chargers, of course, Thursday, and then at Denver to close out the season. And here's actually a little fun thing. If the Chiefs win on Thursday, the only thing they'd have to do technically to win the division is beat Denver. Even if everything else went against them, if they just won that game, they'd win the division. Hopefully, of course, they'd come to that. But they've been excellent against divisional opponents. And if you listen to them talk, and Andy Reid, he said many times in training camp and in OTAs, they spend a lot of extra time on their opponents in the AFC West. They focus very much so on the tendencies of those teams and the personnel groupings or anything else, they really feel like if they can win those games, they have a massive advantage. And of course, that's true, but not every team does that. Not every team treats divisional opponents with more attention, and I think it's a great thing that the Chiefs do, and it's shown in the results.
Awesome. Of course, Verderame is going to know almost all the trivia you can throw at him. And Wilders 05, thank you again. Bought us a domestic beer as well. A blowout against a bad team rarely exposes your weak points. Name 3 things that the Chiefs need to work on after this game that stuck out to you guys. I'll start us off with one thing: penalties. Too many penalties in this game for the Chiefs. Forget where they landed, but I think they had 8 at one point. So they got to clean that up. This is a game where you're killing them. Maybe you get a little bit sloppy, but that's going to matter. It's going to matter on Thursday against the Chargers, where the game could be a little bit tighter. So, and that's been a problem for them this year. They need to clean it up. Matt Conner, what was one thing you saw tonight that Chiefs need to work on?
Well, that was the main thing. I mean, they're still looking a little bit sloppy there. That opening series was concerning. I mean, if we're nitpicking like we are now, the opening series where you go 3 and out, you come out and give yourself. There were a few moments where it was 3rd and long, and maybe didn't need to be. Maybe because some runs didn't work, leading up to that or whatever. Feels like if you're going to establish the run, maybe establish it, and if not, then don't. But Mahomes was hella efficient, and I mean, again, we're nitpicking here, but yeah.
Matt Conner should never say hella, since this is no longer 2004 in New Jersey, but that might be the 3rd thing.
Yeah.
That's a boss word, right?
It's top shelf, man. It's top shelf.
I would say the penalties were the first thing that jumped to mind. I think if I had to pick anything, it's still proving they can beat cover 2, because they did not see a lot of it today. So it's probably beating cover 2. That has to be. And Gary, I see you with. Can I please put a Chiefs pen up, Gary? There you go, bud. Right over the Super Bowl blow up Sports Illustrated cover. Okay? I got all the AFL teams up there. No, I think, look, penalties were one thing. Beating cover 2, proving you can beat cover 2 is another thing. And then I also think if you want to go another way, like getting a 3rd weapon that's consistent. Getting a 3rd, I mean, look, Kelsey didn't have a big game, but the Raiders clearly tried to take him away, and the Chiefs made him pay everywhere else. That's fine. Is that Gordon? I don't know. They obviously want to get him involved today. That's a good sign. Is it just saying, look, we've got Kelsey, we've got Hill, and we're going to pound the ball, and we're cool with that? Like Edwards-Helaire and Darrell Williams can be. That might be plenty. Like that might be enough to win a Super Bowl. I'm not saying it's not. I just if we're looking for a little, that would be those 3 things for me are still top of mind. And their tackles were a little bit soft today at times. I mean, Crosby's a really good player, so is Ngakoue. Wiley, if they can get Niang back in there to start, I think that's probably the way to go.
I think Darrell Williams is now the de facto wide receiver too. I mean, he's obviously stepped up. He's been incredible. It's like Christian McCaffrey, but make him healthy. I'm kidding, obviously, to an extent. I think one way we could probably say, as far as nitpicking, would say, why are we running the football on 2nd and 10? Andy Reid loves to run the football on 2nd and 10, and how often has that ever worked out? It always seems to go to 3rd and 10. And I'm not, again, very small thing. It's 48-9. I'm not complaining. It's just something for the future that if I could say, hey, what's some tiny thing that irritates the shit out of me? It's running the football on 2nd and 10.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there, Sterling. But on the flip side of that, or to play devil's advocate or whatever, we've heard a lot about the Chiefs need to run into these light boxes. And I think, if you knock a couple yards off there, if they're showing you that light box with the offensive line that the Chiefs have, and we talked about this, Verderame and I, with Jeff Schwartz just a couple weeks ago, right before Thanksgiving. And he said the Chiefs can run some power football. For them to get good, look, I think there's going to come a time where the Chiefs are going to need to be able to run the ball really well to win a football game, especially in the playoffs. And so getting these reps now and doing these things, I like it. It's not always going to work, but with the way the defense is playing, I think you can get away with it. Verderame, you got something to say?
I mean, always, but not anything particular. But Listen, I think right now they're playing as well as they've played all year long. And I get all offensively earlier in the year, they were great, but obviously defensively they were the complete opposite. This reminds me a lot of when they won the Super Bowl. And it doesn't mean that that's going to be the same result. It doesn't mean that that's going to happen for sure. But this reminds me a lot of the year when, as you came down the stretch, you're like, man, they're not giving up points. And offensively, if you remember that year, they weren't scoring a bunch of 30s down the stretch. 23 against Denver, 26 against the Bears. You know, they did score 31 against the Chargers, I believe, the last week, but they also had a kick return for a touchdown in that game. Like, their offense was kind of but you saw that defense, and it was like, yeah, they're coming, like, big time. And they started just winning every game. And I will say the one thing, if they get to the 1 seed, and they're going to have to win Thursday night to do it, okay? If they do that, you're going to have to go in there as an opponent and either beat them off a bye, or you're going to have to beat them when they know that if they win, they go to the Super Bowl in their building. That is a Herculean task either way. And I also believe, like, I'm not a big guy in all this. You always hear people like, are they holding stuff back? I don't think very often you hold stuff back in the NFL. You're trying to win every week. But I do believe with Andy and how big of a playbook they have, there are certain things that come to playoffs they have been working on and waiting for. And then all of a sudden, like Rose Bowl right parade, right? Like stuff like that, where it's like when they've got to have it, here it comes. And you have no film of it, and you've got to deal with it. They break tendencies in the playoffs. So I just feel great about it because of their defense, which they scored 48 points today. And my biggest takeaway was, man, this defense is just kicking ass. I mean, they're killing people. And that's, I think, going into Thursday night, that's why I feel good about it. I just think right now they're rolling in a way that reminds me an awful lot of the year they won the Super Bowl.
Really quickly, just going back to the run game, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had his best run of his career. That touchdown run was something we have not seen from him hardly at all. The vision, the ability to bounce it outside, I thought that was incredible because a lot of the critique on Clyde has been, one, going down at first contact. He ran hard today. And two, where's the vision when there's a hole, burst through it. I thought he did a fantastic job on both those touchdown runs. Fantastic job throughout the game. I know it was only 3.7 yards per carry. I get this. I agree. He should be averaging more when you have light boxes. But he noticeably looked, at least to me, improved vision-wise today.
Yeah, I agree. That was a heck of a run. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. I want to touch on the Darrell Williams receiving thing again really quickly because I think it's really interesting. And I think this doesn't happen on a lot of teams, but we heard Mahomes joke that Darrell was always telling him, I'm a receiving back, right? And it was a fun anecdote. But then they started throwing the ball to him more. And it's the same reason, like, everybody gets mad sometimes when they do the trick plays down at the goal line and stuff. And we know that Andy, like, he lets guys design plays. If they come to him with a good idea, he'll put it in the playbook. He likes to try to get linemen to run the ball. He likes to give the ball to the fullback, those types of things. The backup tight ends. That I think this has Andy Reid written all over it. It's this guy goes out, he says he's receiving back, he makes a great play. Maybe Andy puts together a little package for him. He puts together and on that play where Darrell got the touchdown, we got to give a hat. Patrick Mahomes goes up to the line, sees where the mismatch is, moves Kelsey over in tight, and sets it up to get that touchdown. That no one's going to talk about Mahomes doing that. They're not, they're just, he got through a touchdown. But that is a great thing to see from your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, perfectly done. It was well done. It led to a walk-in, little pin by Kelsey there on the not pass interference. And Williams walks in unabated. They're just doing a lot of little things right now. But we've talked about this for months on this pod. Like, this is about them. Their biggest opponent is them often. It really is. It's about them beating themselves and not beating themselves. They took 8 penalties today. That's too many. But they didn't drop any passes. That's a huge step for this team. They have to stop dropping the football. Well, they stopped. I thought Mahomes was perfect Like literally was perfect. I don't think there was one bad throw he made the entire game. Maybe there's one I'm not thinking of. He was great. And I also loved in this game too, he scrambled a decent bit, but he was under control. Like that throw he made to Hill in the third quarter was ridiculous. He was, Next Gen Stats had it. He was running to his left at 6 miles an hour and threw the ball 38 yards across the field and 44 yards down the field against his body and hit Hill right in the hands. Like, that's Mahomes. All those throws where he was kind of on the line of scrimmage, which, by the way, amazes me that he can do that. Like, we have the benefit of course, seeing the superimposed line of scrimmage, and he runs down it like he sees the line. Like, it's crazy how close he gets. He never goes over it. They're doing the little things. And defensively, they've done a lot of the little and the big things now for a while, but they played about as perfect as a game as you could play at the NFL level. And look, when you win 48-9, part of that is the other team played about as bad of a game as you could possibly play. That's part of the deal. That's fine. Yeah. But even if the Raiders had come out and played their best game today, what do they lose by? 2 touchdowns, 17 points? Yeah. They still got killed. So, and by the way, a quick little note I noticed when I was looking at Twitter, Josh Allen left the Buffalo-Tampa game in a walking boot. We'll see how serious that is. And Austin Eckler left the Chargers game with an ankle injury, did not return. He needed help off the field. So we shall
and Lamar
see.
Jackson has a sprained ankle, and they said, we'll see. And we don't know what that means. We'll see. High ankle sprain, MRI.
For fantasy football, it's not looking good for me, guys.
Like, that's a part of this. It gets overlooked, though. It really is. Like, how healthy are you going into the playoffs? How healthy are you? I know. Look at last year at the Chiefs, right? Like, if Fisher gets hurt at the end of the AFC title game, like, that was it. Like, they just couldn't block anybody. The year before that, the Chiefs had a ton of injuries the year they won the Super Bowl, but they got healthy at the end of the year. And going into the playoffs, other than Thornhill, they were healthy and they were dominant. You wonder with these teams, like, how effective are these guys? Maybe they even play, but are they them? Are they 50% of them? Like the Chiefs, according to Andy Reid, had no injuries in this game. That's huge. And of course, assumingly get Snead back from going home to deal with the tragedy of his family. And so you got to love where they are. I don't know how you couldn't.
Well, Lamar and Josh Allen, especially, considering those are very mobile quarterbacks. Josh Allen had over 100 yards rushing this evening. Lamar Jackson, we all know his best attribute is his legs, his game-breaking ability. If those guys are hobbled, sure, I'm not scared at all to begin with. But you give me Lamar Jackson, who is forced to throw the football, I would like the Chiefs' odds. Yeah,
I mean, we're going to talk about the landscape in a minute, but the Bills can't run the ball without Josh Allen, which is not good for them. And that was a hell of a game. I wanted to touch as we're talking about the offense. And by the way, we owe another hat tip to Rasta. Gay was my hype man. Love the leap by Daryl. Appreciate you, Rasta.
Yes, thank you. Matt
Conner, talk to me about the legend of Derek Gore, which just continues to grow. You got Darrell Williams stepping up, but it's like this guy, Derek Gore, like the Chiefs don't get a lot of big breakaway runs, right? But this Derek Gore guy in the preseason and now in the regular season, when given some opportunities, has made some things happen. What do you do if you're the Chiefs? Like, do you try to shoehorn him in there some more? There's just not room. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think there's room. I mean, we were watching a team that was up by, 40 points, give a guy some touches. I think it's great that Gore did what he did. I think it's admirable. He's worked his way onto the roster. But, it's what you would say about like Doris Fountain in the preseason or something. Like, you give a hat tip to a guy who makes the most of his opportunities. You don't ask anyone who's like proven himself to step aside for something like that, even if a guy pulls off a 51-yard run. I will say this, it's a testimony to Brett Veach. Brett Veach has said, or someone has said about him, I forget where I heard it, but it was like he loves the running back position, like just loves like trying to unearth talent at that position, loves scouting it. And I think this kind of pickup is a good view of that, where he gets a vision for what a guy can do. And it's fun to see guys like that succeed. So, yeah, it's a good game, but nothing more.
All right. I want to ask about McCole Hardman, who came back from the dead in this game and made a couple of big plays. Whenever I see McCole Hardman get the ball in his hands, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's different. Like, it's just a matter of, can we get the ball to him? Verderame, do you think that the Chiefs should keep trying to find ways to get the ball into the hands of McHardman and sort of avoid last week where he really didn't make an impact? They gave a handoff to him in this game. Raiders played it well, but a couple big plays because of how electric he is once he gets the ball in his hands.
I don't think they should force it because I think they found a pretty good combination of things. Like Pringle is a really sure-handed receiver for the most part. I know he had the one game to 2 drops back-to-back, but on the whole, he's been very, very good. They've essentially nailed D-Rob to the bench, which is fine by me. They're trying to get Gordon involved. I'm not sitting here saying I would shun Hardman. I wouldn't do that, but I would not go crazy trying to figure it all out. Look, whoever you think can take advantage of a certain matchup, play him. That's the way going forward I'd look at it, right? Like if you think Hardman has an advantage against a corner, you think maybe the guy's bigger, but he's slower. Maybe he doesn't change direction that well. I'd rather have Hardman than Pringle because Hardman can just run away from the guy, right? But maybe if it's more of a corner who's got good speed, but maybe he's a little loose in his hips, he doesn't have great technique, then I want Pringle on him because I think Pringle can run him out of his routes. So it depends. It totally depends. And Adam, I see your analysis, and I think it's well said. But you know what?
Astute, very astute.
Yeah, astute. And I think the Chiefs, who pretty much did that for 60 minutes, agree with you. You know what? I just don't think it's one of those a one-size-fits-all thing. Like with Hill and Kelsey, yeah. You're just going to constantly feed them because you can. But I don't think with anybody else, maybe if you play a real small corner, maybe you play Gordon more in that game. You're you know what, he can just overwhelm the guy with his size. So I think it's a good thing the Chiefs have those options. I wouldn't force feed it. And if one guy gets white hot for a few weeks straight, then play him. Then go roll with it. Yeah. But to me, it's a lot like the running backs. Whoever the hell's playing well, play him. Play him. I don't care. And if they're all playing well, roll them. I wouldn't shoehorn anybody in just because it's convenient. I would just do whatever the hell is going well.
Love it. All right, let's get into earning their arrowheads. Time to give out a little bit of hardware. Let's start with Sterling. Haven't heard from you in a minute. Who gets an arrowhead for you for their performance today?
Oh, man. Do I go the obvious Patrick Mahomes? Do I go with Mike? No, that's boring. We're going to go with Charvarius Ward, baby. I've been telling everyone for, 3 years now. There's still room. Hop on the Charvarius Ward train. Almost another interception in the end zone. Literally, he was the wide receiver on that play. I just feel like this is a guy who never gets his due. No one ever says anything about Charvarius Ward. He's always constantly on the number one dude for the other team. He's always in the right position. Sure, he doesn't have the surest hands, but again, this is why he's playing defense and he's not a wide receiver. I think Charvarius Ward is that underrated guy that the Chiefs really need, because when he was out, you noticed the secondary take a dive. It takes a dip. When he's healthy, moves everyone else back, and he is the underrated, the unsung hero on this defense. And by the way, to the guy that asked for the drumhead, last week I said this was Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater. This is Eric Singer from Kiss. He was in Kiss for a while, and he also was in Alice Cooper. Eric Singer does a lot of work.
Love it. All right, Matt Conner, who gets an arrowhead for you?
Derek fucking Carr gets my arrowhead today. He laid down. He laid down again and again every time we wanted him to. He threw the ball every way we wanted him to. He made sweet love all afternoon to a guy like Hunter Renfrow. I'm okay with that. I'd be okay if Hunter Renfrow went for 400 yards today. I just could care less. So yeah, man. And what I love is the Raiders keep throwing him out there too. I hope Derek Carr has another 10 years with the Las Vegas Raiders. I also hope the Raiders relocate 2 more times in that stint of time. It's a wonderful marriage.
Derek Carr gets an honorary arrowhead. Verderame, who gets an Arrowhead for you?
Stacy's reading my mind in the chat. My man, Mike Hughes. Mike Hughes gets it. Mike Hughes, first play of the game, scoop and score. Give Jerron Reed love too. He made a great play to get in there, and he breaks the run up, forces the fumble. Then I was really impressed, more than anything, with Hughes on that second turnover he was involved in, where Renfro beats him, catches the ball, gets up the field, and Hughes didn't quit. He didn't just try to ankle tackle him. He ran up behind him, punched the ball right out. It was a great job by him. So he gets one of them. I thought you could have gone a lot of different ways. Frank Clark, to me, deserves one. Like, he had I think he had 5 pressures in the game, or excuse me, 4 quarterback hits. I mean, he was all over Carr throughout the entire. I think he had half a sack as well. They split quite a few sacks today. Okafor deserves 1 sack and a half, and my God, did he crush Carr? Oh my God, in the fourth quarter, that was a shot and a half. The one that should have been a scoop and score as well. But I like Matt Conner's style on this, and shout out to the Raiders. Down 35-0, kicking like a 22-yard field goal at the end of the second quarter. What a gutless bullshit move. If that was the Chiefs, they did that, I would have turned off the television. Yeah. That is so embarrassing. Bro, you're down 35 points. You need 7. Like, to kick that from where were they? The 3-yard line? That was I actually can say, like, I just busted out laughing when they trotted Carlson out there. If I was Derek Carr, I would have refused to come off the field. Really, like, I would have been like, "No, I'm taking a delay game. Fuck this. I'm not coming off the field."
Yeah.
There's no way you're making me come off the field in this situation. But yeah, look, you could pick a million guys for the Chiefs today. By the way, Tyreek Hill over 1,000 yards on the year already. Not bad.
Incredible. Very all worthy candidates. I've got to give one to Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon, welcome to the team. You're now officially a Chief. You made your first big impact play for this team. Hopefully it's the first of many more red zone targets for you. So welcome to Kansas City. Nick Bolton, quiet game, 6 tackles out there, making an impact like he always does. And then, of course, we got to give one to Patrick Mahomes. He's incredible. The throws that he made today were vintage Patrick Mahomes, and it gave me the feels. And it feels like this offense is back on track, getting their swagger back a little bit. The Raiders seem to be good for that. All right. One more award to give out. I believe this is the first time we've given out this award. It was conceived over a year ago. And I'm very excited to do this finally. This award is the Marcus Allen Guaranteed Goal Line Touchdown Award. And that goes to none other than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who has had difficulty scoring on the goal line, made it happen today. Terrific game from him. That's what you want to see. You get down there, you want a guy that can get the ball in the end zone. That's the most important thing. So congratulations for the Marcus Allen Guaranteed Goal Line. Do you remember Marcus Allen when he was on the Chiefs, man? Like, they got down in the goal line, and it was just Marcus Allen, 1-yard touchdown. Marcus Allen, 2-yard touchdown, over and over and over again. You knew that you were going to score. Of course, that offensive line, I probably could have punched one in, running behind Big Willie Roaf down there. All right, let's as we get ready to wrap things up here, let's talk about this AFC playoff race. So a few things went the Chiefs' way today. The Browns, who the Chiefs have a tiebreaker against, and I don't think the Chiefs are too worried about the Browns catching them. They did what the Chiefs needed them to do, and they knocked off the Ravens, even though they tried their damnedest to lose after Lamar Jackson goes out of the game. I don't think they're mediocre. They're a mediocre team, fringe playoff time. Look,
Verderame has no mediocre middle ground either.
Yeah,
more
there's
the greatest or you suck,
really,
you suck, baby. There's no in between.
That's the problem with why the media. You listen, you turn on ESPN. Everybody's great. Everybody's awesome. Everybody's. Oh, come on, just say it. They played Tyler Huntley for 2.5 quarters. They had a 24-6 lead. Mayfield throws for like 39 yards in the second half. They don't even score a point. They can't recover an onside kick. They got the hands team out there. The ball hit the guy in the leg. He fielded that like he had a blindfold
That was
on.
bad. I thought for sure they were going to lose.
2.5 quarters in a must-win game off a bye.
Yeah.
They get Tyler Huntley out there and can't do anything. Can't score a point in the second half. Huntley's going up and down. He outplayed Mayfield the damn game.
Yeah.
So
It was brutal.
Hey,
Yeah.
they're better than the Jags, okay? They're better than the Jags.
Well, who's not?
The
Vanderbilt's friend.
Jags
By the way,
stink.
Urban Meyer, when he walked off the field today, he looked like he saw the football version of Vietnam. You see that?
Oh,
He
my
looked,
God.
he looked
He
off the, he
beat
came off the
Normandy.
field
Yeah.
like he was going to need therapy by the time he got to the sideline.
He goes, I should have taken the USC job.
Oh, that is a trainer. That's neither here nor there. But the Browns, look, great for the Chiefs. The Browns won that game. The Browns are just, I mean, to almost blow that game is impossible. That is impossible to almost blow that game. But they held on, and it's a good thing for the Chiefs.
So looking at the landscape, because of that loss, even though the Chiefs they don't have the tiebreaker against the Ravens, it doesn't matter now because the Chiefs have more wins and fewer losses than the Ravens. So the Chiefs are currently the 3 seed. So here's how things shake out. You got New England, they're idle this week, 9-4, they're the number 1 seed. The Titans, they won and just played the Jaguars and just didn't let them score. The Titans, by the way, they've got a little bit of a tough. Their schedule's not that tough the rest of the way. They're 9-4, the 2 seed. They could potentially be some major competition for the Chiefs if they continue to play well, particularly on defense. The news came out that Derrick Henry could be back, even actually before the playoffs. So that's not great because he makes that whole team go. They banked enough wins and they banked a tiebreaker over the Chiefs. So Kansas City is going to need Tennessee to slip up here before the end of the season if they want to get the 1 seed. But the Chiefs moved into the 3rd spot. They're looking good. Ravens are 4. The Chargers are 5. Chiefs can knock them down a peg and claim that division lead or keep that division lead, extend that division lead on Thursday night. Colts move into the 6th spot. The Bills with the loss fall to 7-6. They're actually in danger of not making the playoffs, which is just incredible, but it's true. And then you got the Browns there and the 8 seed at 7-6, and they're fighting with the Bengals 7-6, Broncos 7-6, and the Steelers 6-6. How do you see this whole thing shaking out, Matt Conner, in the AFC?
It's hard to see the Chiefs making the number 1 seed, although every week there are teams sort of seem like they're stepping aside and going, here you go, KC, here's your path. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that even on this podcast that we were talking about, will the Chiefs make the playoffs, right? So, I don't want it to seem like a downer if I say they can't reach the number 1 seed. They've already come a tremendous way from where we've been discussing them before. I think the schedule is just too easy for some of the teams that still hold a tiebreaker or even a 1-game edge at this point. I think the Chiefs are playing the first round. That's what I think will happen. But I'd love to be proven wrong there.
Do you think the Chiefs are going to win out?
I do. I just don't know that either the Titans or the Patriots would lose from here on out either.
I will say Titans have to play the Colts at some point. I think the Colts are the better team. I will
played
stand
already.
by that. Both times?
Titans swept.
Well, shit, I'm wrong.
I think the Titans have – I know they've got the Dolphins and the 49ers.
They have the Steelers in Pittsburgh this Sunday.
Steelers. That's the one.
Do you think New England wins out? Because I still don't trust Mac Jones. Bill Belichick doesn't trust Mac Jones to an extent. There's just something about New England. I know their defense is fantastic. They had, 8 guys sit out last year because of COVID. They're back. They have this mastermind of a head coach. I understand all that. But when it comes down to it, do you trust Mac Jones to win out for you? I don't.
I don't trust them in a head-to-head matchup. You're asking me if I think they're going to win out. From the very beginning of the season, I put big money on the Patriots to win that division. I think they're doing what I thought they'd do. I think Belichick, they have a great defense, and you can ride that, and they're going to ride it. That's what I think.
So I think if the Chiefs, I think the game on Thursday is the difference between the Chiefs having the 1 or the 5 seed. Because if they win this game, I do not think they'll lose another game. I don't. I think they'll kill the Steelers. I think they will handle the Bengals, and I think they will absolutely murder Denver if they have to win that game to be a 1 seed. So, look, the Titans, I've seen some people ask, what is the schedule ahead? I can't give you the exact order, but they play, I think they have Houston on the road, if memory serves. I'm trying to do it off the top of my head. They play at Pittsburgh, they host Miami, and they host the Niners. I think they will lose.
At Pittsburgh,
Yep.
home against the Niners, home against the Dolphins, at the Texans to finish the season.
I think they will lose. Frankly, I think they're going to lose to Pittsburgh. I think they'll lose one of those games. New England is on Saturday playing at Indianapolis, and then both teams out of a bye. And then they play the Bills the day after Christmas in Foxborough. If Josh Allen's healthy, I think the Bills will beat them. I thought the Bills would have beaten them the first time. I actually said right after the game on Twitter, I think the Bills are going to win that division. I think they're going to run the table. And I think New England's going to lose to the Colts. I think they're going to lose to the Bills. The Colts are a weird matchup for them because they're a lot like them. They want to run the ball, stay ahead of the sticks, play good defense. The Colts are a lot like them, except I know Wentz can throw some picks that scare the hell out of you sometimes, but he's also more prolific than Mac Jones. So I think if the Chiefs beat the Chargers, they're going to be the number 1 seed. Now, that's a big if. The Chiefs are a 3-point favorite, but it's a tough game.
That Colts secondary, I just don't buy it. I just think
you guys you're forgetting one thing though. New England's obligatory loss to the Dolphins. I'm just saying that's week 17. Dolphins have to get that win. It's just they've checked it off in the schedule. It's the rules.
Goodell makes it happen. Strike twice. So the year Chiefs won the Super Bowl, they needed the Patriots to lose week 17, and they lost to the Dolphins. The Dolphins are scrappy.
I'm going to quickly go full nerd here, and I do mean quickly, but I love this kind of stuff. I sit here and play on the playoff machine for like an hour. I love trying to figure out different things. The Bills are going to have to beat the Patriots to make the playoffs. They're going to have to win that game. Their other 3 games are really easy. Panthers, Falcons, Jets at home. They'll kill those 3 teams. But to get to the playoffs in the AFC, I think you've got to get to at least 10 wins, right? And you'd say, well, they could lose to the Pats and get to 10. The problem for the Bills is they are going to have almost no tiebreakers in their advantage. So they lost to the Colts. They won't win that tiebreaker. In most realistic scenarios, the Bills are not going to have a better conference record than the Chargers. They're not going to have a better conference record than Baltimore. They're not going to have a better conference record than Cincinnati. They're not going to make the playoffs in a lot of situations if they don't win 11 games. They got to win out. So they're going to go up there with everything they've got. Even if they know that, hey, maybe we can't win the division, although at that point, there'd still be a couple games after that. You can still keep it open. But I think the Bills are going to win that game. And I think Tennessee had 250 yards of offense today against Jacksonville. They're going to lose a game.
Yeah.
The question for me is, can Kansas City go into LA on Thursday night and win that game? The Chiefs are the better team. The Chargers are awful defensively. Awful. And if Eckler doesn't play, that's a huge deal because he is a pain in the ass to deal with in the pass game. But that game, the Chiefs have spent the last 6 weeks digging out of that shitstorm they put themselves in at 3-4. This game on Thursday night is the final little bit they've got to dig out. If they win that game, they are now out of the hole and all of a sudden in really good position. But they got to win that game. And I think they're better. They're favored by 3 points on the road. And by the way, it's going to sound like Arrowhead on Thursday night at that game, I'm sure. But that's the big one. To me, the biggest thing standing in the way of the Chiefs in the 1 seed is that game. Because if they don't win it, there's a very good chance they don't even win the division.
Yeah. Yeah, you've been saying it for a week now. This is the game of the year so far for the Chiefs. Coming up against the Chargers on Thursday night. And bad luck for the Chargers, obviously the injury to Eckler, but also the fact that there's a game on Thursday. So there's just not a lot of time to heal up. Not ideal, but that's Thursday night football. And you've got to say everybody's banged up, but the Chiefs got to be coming out of this game feeling pretty good, feeling pretty healthy, a few hard hits and things like that. But it wasn't too hard fought of a game, and they got to pretty much take the fourth quarter off. So that's pretty great. Okay, before we get out of here, our guy, Jaden, who's the biggest, you're going to have to give him a producer credit on the show here for all his support tonight.
Seriously.
He asked us to wrap things up with a question, and I think it's a really fun one. At the end of the night, who is everyone's favorite Chiefs player of all time? Let's start with Matt Verderame.
Man, all time. I'm really tempted to just say Mahomes, but I'll go with Derek Thomas as a kid. I grew up in the 90s, and man, there are a few things that you love more than him just coming around the edge, and you can just see it coming. Like blindside, he's just going to kill whoever the quarterback was. Jamal Charles is in there for me too. Love Jamal Charles. But I think it's got to be DT. He was, as a kid, I had a Derek Thomas jersey. Now I have a different Derek Thomas jersey. But I loved him. I loved him. He was so much fun to watch.
Great player. Gone way too soon. Matt Conner, your favorite Chief?
The Nigerian Nightmare. The perfect blend of size and speed. Christian Okoye. Man, I'm old, so I was a little kid. I just couldn't believe, like when you're a kid, anything big is awesome and anything fast is awesome. And so watching a guy who's like a human refrigerator, even the pads back then, like watching him run over, and then you could play Tecmo Bowl and run over people just like him too. So I was like, he was just incredible. So I love Christian Okoye. If you're out there somewhere, I would kiss you. I would kiss your hand. I would hug you.
That might not help in a meeting. But
I'll eat Count Chocula with you. Whatever.
That's right.
Please call me. That's all.
Love it. Love the Nigerian Nightmare. He looks so terrifying coming down into the line. Sterling, your favorite Chief. You're a little bit younger than the rest of us.
Yeah, Will Shields is up there, but I gotta go with Priest Holmes. It's literally the same last name. That's just child's play. Yeah. When you're a kid growing up and you're watching him jump over the line for, 27, 29 touchdowns that one season? Him going back and forth with the LT. I loved Priest Holmes. And this is hilarious coming from a guy who thinks that running backs don't matter for the most part anymore. Priest Holmes was just an absolute joy to watch. He was one of the reasons why I started loving football, to be completely frank with you. I loved watching Priest Holmes play, and he's still, to this day, my favorite player, I think, of all time.
Yeah, he's got to be a lot of – Go ahead.
Well, I just thought Sterling was so young. I thought he was going to say C.J. Spiller.
It was actually Chase Daniel. Sure. Chase Daniel.
There you
go. I've got to go with Jamal Charles. I mean, it was such a dark time to be a Chiefs fan, during Jamal's prime, and he was the light. He made it all worth watching the games, because you would just sit down and you'd be like, this guy, has even remember we finally made the playoffs against Baltimore and we got shellacked, but Jamal broke. There was that one shining moment where you thought we're going to win a playoff game because Jamal Charles is Jamal Charles. He was just so, I don't think I've seen a running back like that ever. Just absolutely incredible. Loved watching him. I got to give 2 hat tips. One to Joe Montana. He's the reason that I'm a Chiefs fan. Yep. I was a big Joe Montana fan growing up. I liked him when he was on the 49ers before I had really picked a team. Followed him to Kansas City, became a Chiefs fan, got my Montana jersey over there in the closet. And my favorite Chief that I never saw play football for the Chiefs, Joe Delaney. Makes me proud to be a Chiefs fan every year when I hear Joe's story. I read the same SI article about Joe Delaney every year on the anniversary of his death, and I shed a tear every single year thinking about Joe, saying to somebody like, I might drown. So if you see me drowning, basically send help, but I got to try to save those kids. Absolutely incredible person. And so I don't have one, but I need a Joe Delaney jersey. Verderame?
No, I'll say real quick, and I of course never saw him play. And Jaden, thanks again for that super chat, man. You were rolling. Appreciate it so much. And Delaney's an awesome call. Yeah, I mean, just what a human being. I obviously, of course, never saw this guy play, but Willie Lanier is right up there. And I will tell you, I interviewed him for a story years ago when I wrote a long form on the 69 Chiefs. And he talked about their win in the divisional playoffs against the Jets at Shea Stadium. The Jets were defending champions. And the Chiefs were at that point up 6-3 late in the game. Pass interference in the end zone, first goal at the 1-yard line. And we talked about this goal line stand, which is usually the biggest goal line stand in the Chiefs' history, right? Obviously, they made the stand. The Jets ended up kicking a field goal. The Chiefs went down, scored, and won the game. And he was talking to me. He kind of paused, and he was like, they had 6 inches to go. That just wasn't a concession I was willing to make. And, it was, the coolest thing anybody's ever said to me. Just the way he's like, they weren't going to score. He's like, I didn't care if I was offsides. What were they going to do? Move the ball half an inch? He's like, we were just trying to time the jump. And he's like, Namath was so terrified of them taking a false start. They kept going on one. And he's like, we were just jamming up the line. It was watching old clips of them. It would have been a joy to watch that defense. I think of all those guys, Willie Lanier, Contact would have been the guy I would have loved to have watched.
Love it. All right, everybody. We got to get out of here. So look, as far as the schedule goes, we need to coordinate with Sterling and Matt, but we're going to maybe try to all record on Tuesday during Sterling and Matt's regular scheduled time, Monday or Tuesday. We'll figure it out behind the scenes. So you have a game preview for the Chargers game, since Matt and I's normal day is Thursday. And then Thursday night, we'll be back after this huge, massive game for the Chiefs. So this is that fun time of year where you get a Chiefs game on Sunday and you get a Chiefs game on Thursday, and then the Chiefs get a mini bye for the stretch run. Absolutely incredible. Any parting thoughts from the peanut gallery here?
I'm going to need a mini bye after that.
Yeah.
We need an emotional mini bye. I'm going to be done, man.
Shout out to my Independence folk. Mugs Up Root Beer. Best root beer in Kansas City. Shout out to y'all.
Nice. You need to reach out to them about a sponsorship.
Come on. Go off your ass.
Sorry. I would love – all I need, 3 zip burgers, a root beer, and a fry, and I am golden.
Right. We can't expect Jaden to fund the whole show here. Actually, I think we are going to have a local Kansas City sponsor very soon. I can't say who just yet because the ink is not dry on the paper, but I'm very, very excited to share that all with you pretty soon. Okay. Matt Conner, any parting thoughts before we get out of here?
Raiders did what they needed to do. They wet the bed so much that they got to change the sheets. So
they got to throw out the mattress.
Yeah. So I mean, literally, it was the worst night for them, but it's the best thing long term for the franchise. It'll be interesting to see. I'm curious to see what they do on wholesale changes coming up.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging with us and waiting for the show tonight while we finished up those afternoon games. Go enjoy or don't enjoy watching the Bears game. And we will see you guys sometime on Tuesday. We'll watch our Twitter accounts to see what time we're going to be streaming live. But for Sterling Holmes, Matt Verderame, Matt Conner, my name is Patrick Allen. Thank you so much for your support. And as always, go Chiefs.